Hi everyone, thanks for joining me to what might be the first unboxing and early impressions of the Soundbrenner Wave Pro in-ear monitors. These were just launched in late January 2026. With the plastic wrap removed, let's have a closer look. The box feels premium right away. The design is clean, but also clearly aimed at musicians. On the back, you'll find the key information and technical details printed out. Before we open the box, a quick look at Soundbrenner. Soundbrenner are known for creating tools for musicians, especially variable metronomes and other practice and performance gadgets. They've always had this working musician vibe and generally a strong emphasis on usability and design. More recently, they expanded the portfolio into in-ear monitors for stage use, but also for regular music listening. The Wave Pro sits higher in the lineup. This is the more premium, more flagship-leaning model with upgraded materials and an overall upper-tier positioning. Now let's open the box. As soon as you lift the lid, you get a nice presentation moment. At the top, that's a short message, a few words from the founder and CEO, which is a classy touch. Below is the main tray with the actual contents. First up is the carrying pouch. It's made from a firm nylon material and it immediately reminds me of the pouches you get with some Shure in-ears. This one feels a bit thicker and slightly more substantial, but it's still compact. It looks like something that will actually survive daily use, and it's small enough that it can go into a pocket, which I really like. Inside the pouch are the two earpieces, stored separately and without the cable attached. Now the first impression of the shells. They look understated but premium. The finish has a slightly metallic tone. It reminds me a bit of the natural titanium aesthetic you've seen on some recent devices. In person, it's subtle and classy, not flashy, and it reads as high-end without screaming for attention. Next, let's look at the ear tips. Because with IEMs, tips matter a lot. They affect comfort, isolation, and the final frequency response you actually hear. First are the liquid Pro tips. They feel silicone-like, but they're noticeably smoother and a bit more glossy than standard silicone tips. They look and feel like a premium silicone variant. Second are the foam tips. They are very similar to what Shure includes with their in-ear monitors. You compress them, insert them in your ear, and they expand. The result is a strong seal and strong isolation. Foam tips usually can emphasize the bass and soften the highs. At least this is my experience with my Shure SE846 SE2 in-ear monitors. The foam tips there are very comfortable, but unfortunately the sound is not the most balanced. And third, we have double flange silicone tips. They have a more classic matte silicone with a double flange shape designed for a deeper seal and typically very strong isolation. On my Shure in-ears, the triple flange tips definitely sound the best there while offering superb isolation. Finally, the cable. The cable color matches the IEM aesthetic. It has a slightly warm metallic tone that fits the shells nicely. It's a braided cable and it's advertised as silver-plated. The first thing I noticed when I touched it is that it feels smooth, not rubbery, not sticky, not gummy. I really appreciate that because some cables can feel unpleasant and also tend to tangle. This one, because it's smooth, also seems less prone to twisting into knots. The over-ear section is built to help route the cable over the ear and reduce microphonics. That cable rubbing noise you can get when walking or when the cable hits your shirt. On some IEMs the ear guides are very bendable. Here it feels more structured but still comfortable looking. Instead of a fixed plug, the cable ends in a connector where you attach the plug module. In the box you get a standard 3.5mm plug. You push it on the connector on the cable, it seats with a reassuring click, and then you lock it down with a screw collar. Also included separately in a small plastic bag is a standard 3.5 to 6.3mm stereo adapter. This adapter isn't part of the modular system, it simply slips onto the 3.5mm plug. Still, it's good to see it included. Before connecting everything, let's quickly look at the leaflet. This is basically a one-sheet quick start manual. It covers the essentials: what's in the box, what the tips are, how to connect the modular plug, how to connect the IEMs, and it includes a short set of technical specifications. It's minimal, but it's exactly what you need to get started, and it doesn't waste your time. For this kind of product, there's absolutely enough. Alright, now to the first listening impressions. I used around 20 reference tracks. Songs I knew extremely well, and I tried all the 3 tips in my size. I'm going to describe what I heard, but keep in mind, with IEMs, the ear canal seal and fit are everything. Tips can completely change the sound, so this isn't just comfort, it's literally part of the tuning. I started with the Liquid Pro tips. Comfort-wise, the Liquid Pro tips feel basically like normal silicone tips to me. Not dramatically better, not worse. Isolation is already quite good. But sonically, the first thing I noticed was a very strong bass emphasis. The bass remains fairly clean. It's not like it instantly turns into distortion, but the boost is heavy. For me, it felt closer to a consumer-style tuning you often get with modern Bluetooth headphones before you EQ them back to neutral. For my personal taste, that's too much. And honestly, that was my first disappointment, because I hoped the Pro model would default closer to a more balanced tuning. I also noticed something else. There seems to be a dip somewhere around the upper mids to lower treble area. It slightly softens the presentation there, while the higher treble still stays fairly clear. That creates a bit of an odd contrast. You have big bass, then a softer zone, and then clarity again on top. Compared to the bass boost, the dip is a smaller issue, but it was audible on tracks where vocals, guitars, and certain synth textures live in that region. Next, I switched to the double flange silicon. With the double flange silicon tips, the bass immediately came down to a much more normal level. It's still full and present, because with a good seal, most IEMs will give you solid low end, but it stopped being exaggerated. For me, it landed around what I'd call modern reasonable bass, punchy, satisfying, but not boosted into fun territory. However, that slight softening I mentioned earlier, the upper mid lower treble dip, I still heard it. So overall, the sound became much closer to what I wanted, and at that stage I would have said, this is already very good, but not quite perfect for my preferences. Then I tried the foam tips, and that's where the story got interesting. To my surprise, the foam tips ended up being the best match for my ears. The bass stayed controlled, possibly even a touch cleaner, and more importantly, that earlier softening basically disappeared for me. The overall balance became more coherent. Bass, mids and treble felt more locked together into one consistent picture. So with foam tips I get the most neutral and most natural overall tuning. And as a bonus, foam also gives me the best isolation and very good comfort once the fit is dialed in. The only downside is the obvious one. Foam tips wear out over time and typically need replacing, whereas silicone tips can be cleaned and reused for a longer time. But purely on sound and seal, foam won for me, clearly. And again, that's personal. Someone else might prefer the Liquid Pro tips because they have a big bass shelf, or they might get a different seal geometry that changes everything. But for my ears, foam is the clear choice. With the foam tips, I describe the overall sound quality like this. It's clean, it's detailed, and I'm not hearing obvious distortion artifacts. The tonal balance is what I personally want. Neutral enough to feel correct on a wide variety of music without sounding thin. Resolution-wise, meaning the least bit of micro detail and separation, I do think my Shure set still resolves a bit better to my ears. But that can also be influenced by tuning, because certain tunings can make details seem more forward or more recessed. What I can say confidently is, the Wave Pro's driver feels technically very capable. It doesn't sound like a cheap IEM that's just EQ'd into shape. It sounds like a genuinely high quality transducer setup with a premium overall implementation. In terms of build quality, I'm impressed. The shells are on the larger side, but they're well shaped, and the nozzles opening isn't a problem for me. With the foam tips, fit and comfort are excellent. And the cable is a real highlight. The smooth material, the lack of stickiness, the reduced microphonics, the way it doesn't tangle easily, it all feels premium. As a final takeaway, I'm genuinely positively surprised about these IEMs. Overall sound quality is on a high level. So yes, I can recommend these confidently both for music listening and for serious music work, including stage use. Going forward, I really hope Soundbrenner will offer replacement tips and expand the modular system, for example with additional plug modules and maybe even a high quality USB-C DAC module that lets you connect them directly to a phone, tablet or PC. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If the video was useful, please leave a like and see you in the next one.